No notes for this one. No notes necessary for this video. What is up, everyone? It is your local Ottawa fan, and the Ottawa Charge lose 5-0 against the Minnesota Frost. Now, normally, I would talk about how great the crowd is in a takeover tour, but I'm going to do something a little bit different this time. You see, I'm going to have to do my first ever apology as a YouTuber, not for anything that I've done. No, I want to apologize to the people of Raleigh, Carolina, on behalf of the Ottawa Charge, because you were promised a professional women's hockey league game between the Minnesota Frost and the Ottawa Charge, but the Ottawa Charge forgot to show up. What was that? And in a game that we need, we went into this game back of Minnesota by just 3 points. And I believe more regulation wins. So had we won this game in regulation, we could have slipped in that fourth playoff spot, which a little while ago seemed like it was a pretty tall order. It's right back to being a tall order, because between this and the Minnesota overtime win, we're right back into a very, very, very tough position. The only saving grace, and I mean the only saving grace, is that we have games in hand, and before this, we had a bit of a point streak going on. Yeah, we had a 5-game point streak. Now, we had quite a few OT losses in there, but still, if this is a bump in the road and we're able to, get points in, what? We've got 9 games left. Oh, we've got 9 games left. We're 8 points out of a playoff spot. But if we can get, points in, say, 8 of our final games, okay, maybe we could do something. Our next game is against Minnesota. If we lose that game, the season is done. Make no mistake, if we do not beat Minnesota, the season will end. We will not make the playoffs. Make no mistake. Mark my words, that will, if we are behind them by 11 points with 8 games to go, I'm sorry, but I don't see how we can make up a 4-game gap with just 8 games. It's simply not going to happen. If we win, and that's a big if we show up like we did against them in Carolina, we won't win. We won't even come close. When they went up 3-0 in the first period, mind you, the game was over not just because of how anemic we looked, but because we have literally never in franchise history come back from 3 goals down. Only once have we come back from 2 goals down. We are not a team that is good at the comeback. We are actually quite bad at it. Yes, we've had a few here and there, but I find the Ottawa Charge is best if they score early and often. If they can take a lead and then hang on to it and smother them defensively, which, by the way, we sure didn't. If we beat Minnesota and get within 5 points, we have 2 games in hand, which would mean that if we won our next 2 games, we could be at the same point. 21? So we're 22, 23. So we could be at game 24, ironically enough, game 24 in a playoff spot. Last time we couldn't do that. And we were in kind of similar position where we needed to, well, now not quite the same position where we needed to win one of our last 3. We need to win all of 3. But I'd even argue, look, if we beat Minnesota, then win our next game and have a game in hand, we could at least keep playoff hopes somewhat alive. I'm looking also at how this affects New York. Their season's done. New York's not making the playoffs. It's pretty safe to say that unless we see a team drop 9 in a row, preceded by winning 9 in a row, they aren't going to make the postseason. And I feel for New York fans. They had the same thing last season, missed the playoffs, painful fashion. Same thing this year. And also, this is not good for the league. Great, the same 4 teams make the playoffs. Woohoo. Who wants that? No, seriously, who wants that? Who wants to see the same 4 teams? Oh, well, I bet fans of Toronto, Montreal, Boston, and Minnesota want them to make the playoffs. They don't want everyone else. You think Toronto fans are celebrating that Boston and Montreal are going to make the playoffs? You think that Minnesota fans are super stoked that it's the same exact 4 teams? It would have been nice. It would have been nice to see somebody new crack the postseason this year. I mean, we had that same problem with the NHL, right? Seeing the same teams over and over and over again. It got kind of boring real quick. Oh, I wonder if after their round 1 exit to Boston, if it'll be Boston or Tampa Bay who moves on. And then finally, oh wait, no, maybe it'll be Florida. It's nice that we're finally getting some new blood, right? That's what a lot of people are saying. Even people who are fans of teams that have been making the playoffs for the past 5-6 years are happy if their team still makes it and somebody new comes in. Everybody likes new blood in the playoffs. It's looking like we aren't going to get that in the P. This game was terrible. That's why I don't have any notes. I was writing notes. And then eventually I was like, I don't need them. I don't need them to tell you what you already saw. First period, we let in 3 goals on 7 shots. Which, by the way, this was not a great game for Maschmeyer. And I know it's easy to say it's not her fault. And maybe it wasn't. That stat line speaks for itself. 3 goals on 7 shots is unacceptable. And I don't blame Maschmeyer. Again, first off, I can't blame Maschmeyer. We didn't score any goals. She could have been a complete brick wall. We still lose. Or only go to overtime, which is still a loss when you consider you're behind them by 3 points. A regulation win was needed against this team, and we scored a grand total of 0 goals. We got shut out in a game that we needed. We couldn't get a single goal past them. So I'm sorry, but I can't exactly blame Maschmeyer when no one showed up. Not a single player. Phillips played well. Didn't have to face as much. Don't get me wrong. But I think it's time to say, look, Maschmeyer is probably, in my opinion, the greatest goalie in the league. Maschmeyer is, in a lot of ways, the heart and soul of this team. And Maschmeyer is the most overplayed goalie in this league, and it's not even close. And Phillips is good! How much more proof do we need that Phillips isn't just, the backup that you are forced to throw into the game when, Maschmeyer is either looking bad or has, been completely overworked. She's good! She's really good! She's kept us in games. She's stolen games. She had a shutout. Phillips is a damn good goalie, and I think it's maybe time to consider giving her a bit more of a workload. First off, she's supposed to be our goalie of the future, right? That was a big reason for drafting her, that we know Maschmeyer is not going to stay young forever. There will come a day where Maschmeyer retires, and you want somebody who can go in between the pipes in her absence. And Phillips seems like the gal. She's the one to step up and lead the next era of Ottawa Charge hockey when that comes. She's not going to get ready by staying on the bench. She's proven she's more than capable in the PWHL. I'm not saying give her half the games. I'm not saying to bench Maschmeyer all the time. I'm saying give Maschmeyer a little bit of an easier workload so she isn't playing as much as she is, which is, again, the most minutes in the PWHL, and it's not even close, and give Phillips a chance to shine a little bit. Personally, that's what I would do. And I've noticed a lot more people starting to suggest that. And let me be clear, I'm not talking bad on Maschmeyer. Again, I think she's the best goalie in the league. I don't think it's that close, in my opinion. I think Debian and her are close, but that's about it. I think she's easy top 2, top 3 in the league. I don't think there should even be a debate on if she's top 2, top 3 in the league. But she is so overworked, it's crazy. Even Debian doesn't play as much as her. And Phillips played well. Terrible first period, 3 goals on 7 shots. Again, it's not even like we got completely outplayed. It reminded me a lot of the game that we had against the Frost where we won 8-3, where you look at a lot of the stat lines, and you're like, they actually seemed evenly matched. One team led an 8. In this game, again, similar, where, they didn't completely, work us. It's not like they had 50 shots and we had 15. But they kept scoring, and We went right back to the old Ottawa Charge way of not scoring. Now, did we go right back to the old Ottawa way of always in the box? No. Minnesota did. The second period had 3 Minnesota penalties. We had 6, count them, 6 minutes of power play time in the second period. And if my memory serves me right, we had 1 shot on goal. And it was in the third power play. So I know for a fact we went at least 4 straight minutes. 4 straight power play minutes without a single shot on goal. Horrible. Especially down by 3. They didn't score their 4th goal till the 3rd. And I'll tell you this. If you score to make it 3-1 in the second period, there is a game worth watching in the 3rd. Okay. You're down 2 going into the 3rd. Like, that's not a great situation, but we've seen it happen. 2 goals in the 3rd. That could happen. Especially, you pull the goalie down 1 or down 2, it's worth watching. There's still a game to be had. And when you have 6 minutes on the power play, and you look as bad as we did, where I feel like Minnesota has had as many chances as we did on our own power play, I mean, that's when you knew, right? Like, who watched the second period and thought, oh, well, the game's not over yet? Name a single person, a single soul who actually thought that maybe we still had a chance. I don't even think the players. Look at the body language. Everyone knew that game was done. Everyone was already moving on to the next game. And within a minute into the third period, Minnesota scores right on cue to make it 4-0. Unwatchable. Again, I feel really bad for the fans. This is a takeover tour game. You don't know when you're going to get another PWHL hockey game. In a league that's great, exciting, most games are super tight, a minute into the third period, and you could have gone to the bathroom, got yourself a hot dog, some popcorn, a drink, chatted with your mom a little bit on the phone, and you wouldn't have missed anything. It's 4-0. You know how this game ends. 19 minutes left, and you knew how the game ends. They pot an empty netter. 5-0. To complete the worst game in Charger City. Really, the worst. The worst. Because, there was the game against Toronto last season. We were at least somewhat competitive. Yes, it eliminated us from the playoffs, but at least we did show up. Oh, well, that game against New York last season, 4 goals in 1 period. 4 goals in a period is embarrassing. We lost by 1. That was a close game. We were in that game. Oh, well, we lost 5-0. In my opinion, that's where, it's truly embarrassing. 5-0 and above is the worst loss, in my opinion. Because, A, you let in 5+ goals. That is abysmal. And B, you got shut out. That's it. This is, if you were to take all the pile of embarrassing, trash losses, garbage games, this has the crown. The stinkiest, dirtiest crown placed on top the pile of garbage. And the sad thing is, we've had quite a bit of that the past 2 seasons. And I will say this. Our season's almost certainly over if we lose to Minnesota next game. If we do lose to Minnesota, it is time for internal change. I think that the coaching staff, the management, and even some of the players should be playing and coaching and managing like their job depends on it. Another thing, trade deadline's coming up. I don't know how you don't trade everyone after this game. Obviously, don't trade everyone, but seriously, how are you not sitting there thinking, what can we do? What can we do to fix this? But I'm just your local Ottawa fan. I don't have the answers to that question. But I do know that this needs fixing. Because after a performance like that, we won't make the playoffs. We won't do anything in them. And I really hope that this is just an outlier game. You know, we did have a 4-game point streak. But of all the games, it had to be against the team in fourth. It had to be against the team that we're chasing. Couldn't have been against Montreal. That would have been fine, honestly. We could have gotten... If we lose 5-0 to Montreal, I wouldn't even be that mad. I'd be like, yeah, it's Montreal. This is expected. It's against the team we needed to beat that we did this. But, season's not over. Got one last chance to get ourselves back into the season. To resuscitate this flailing season. All I can say is, better win. And as always, go, Ottawa, go.